All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Writer's Cut. This is episode 8. I am your host, Edwin Acevedo, and I'm here with fellow hardliner, fellow prolific writer himself, Aaron Calimeri. How are you, brother?
I'm doing all right. How's it going, everybody?
Yeah. So please, anybody's in the chat, please like and share. We got Christopher in the house. Let's see, bring up his comment. Welcome, Hale. Thank you for coming out, hanging with us. This stream is something I started a couple months ago. I call it the Writer's Cuts, where I hook up with other fellow writers and we kind of talk about our processes. And in this episode, we'll be talking about writing for different IPs. Me and Aaron have been fortunate enough to put out a couple different books through crowdfunding. And, we're going to talk a little bit about it. Usually go about 30 to 40 minutes. So, you can always catch this on the replay and, keep joining us. But Aaron, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? I'm going to tweet this out and, we can get going on this.
Hi, guys. My name's Aaron Calimeri. I created and wrote a comic book called Cybershock, a comic book called More Lethal, and a comic book called Murder Weapon. I've been part of the Hardline for quite a while, friends with Ace for quite a while. I'm not really that well known, but I've been around Comicsgate since it started, basically since the very beginning. So kind of know my way around indie comic scene.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna get into a little bit of some of your projects, but you've done quite a bit, man. Why don't you tell everybody what's been your you've got another project called Hellzone, which you'll talk about towards the end. How's that process been?
With Hellzone?
Yeah.
It's been good. I mean, I came up with the initial idea for it and the name for it, and I thought it had a really cool premise. It's kind of like Event Horizon and Doom mixed together, and I thought Sim would be, a really good collaborator on that. So I came to him with the idea, and it just kind of exploded from there into it was originally going to just be a regular sized comic, and now it's like a full graphic novel. It's over 50 pages.
Gonna be a big boy.
Yep, and it's been a really good process with Sim. I mean, he can take the ball and run with it pretty good. So he just was coming up. We were both coming up with ideas, and he was drawing different characters for it, and it came together really good. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah. Do you have like a launch date for that?
No, not yet. I had some like personal snags and stuff, but we have the entire campaign created already on Indiegogo. We have the launch, or the pre-launch page is up right now. The whole campaign is like completely created. All the perks are created. Everything's there. We just have to we're going to do like a short little ramp up and then launch. But we don't have a date yet, but it'll be soon.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. Looking forward to it. Like I said, we'll share that out. For anybody who hasn't signed up, the mailing list link is in the description. You can go sign up to that. You can sign up for Raid of the White Leopard, which we'll also touch on a little later. But right now, let me take you back in time to my first comic book. I don't know if you remember this. This is way, way back. A little something called the Ace Volume 1. What do you remember about this book?
Well, I mean, really, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but like the biggest thing I remember about the book was you kind of learning from other people's mistakes, and I felt like you really handled the creation of the book, the launch of the book, the campaign, everything. I felt like you did it in a really structured way, and you did it the right way. and I think it was like an example for other creators on how to create a comic book and sell it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, man, I've
Yeah.
had learned a lot from all the hardline guys. You, Sim, Passion, Phil, Joe. All you guys have really kind of got a lot of this stuff started before I had. So I was able to kind of watch and piggyback of what you guys were doing and what you're still doing even now. Like I'm always learning from the hardline guys to see what works, what doesn't, and kind of we all take risks in kind of our own ways. We've all branched out in different. We've tried different platforms of selling our books, websites through PayPal, through obviously the regular crowdfunding sites. I'm going to be trying to fund my comic, Friday when Raid launches. So yeah, man, we've kind of all dipped our feet into all sorts of different little things and kind of learned as best we could. But yeah, the Ace was, the thing that I worked on the longest. It took me probably like a year and a half before launch. This thing was, project a labor of love, and it was great to see it pay off. But then, obviously, as great as the series has been, and Volume 3 is gonna launch in September. Uh, you know, you've had to kind of all these kind of different avenues and things have ended up kind of opening up. I ended up doing something like Bloodbone. Which is kind of like a kind of passion project, a completely different 180 from the Ace. Ace is very much like, you have the sci-fi element, you have the superhero element, you have a mix of like, Green Lantern mixed with Darkhawk, all these kind of different things, aliens, outer space, you know, lots of superpowers, all these kind of weapons, technology, all this kind of stuff. This big kind of epic grand tale, and then you break it down to Bloodbone, which is just like basically street level. It's Daredevil, it's Punisher. It's like, there's guys who have superhuman abilities, but there's nobody, there's no Supermans, there's no like Flashes. Everybody's got enhanced abilities, but they're still kind of like human. They can live, they can die. It's not so much about the capes in this universe as it is with the Ace. So yeah, it's completely different muscle as far as actually writing the story. Your stuff has kind of been a little bit similar, but also, it has its own kind of twists and turns. Like, how was everything from like Cyber Shock to like something like more lethal?
Well, I think um, when you're creating a book or a story, you kind of have to think of um, kind of like the way you're going to tell the story, um, to where like okay, is this going to be first person, like am I going to put a lot of captions in this and have it be like really like narrative driven, or is it going to be like a first person narrative where the person's explaining what they're doing? And I think it kind of depends on the character, and it kind of depends on what style you're going for. um, and I think dialogue is, I think a lot of people kind of misunderstand writing dialogue. I think people want to jam a whole bunch of stuff in there, and they think, like, well, there's a panel here, I have to put words in it.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like you only need the words like where you actually need the words.
Yeah.
Um, I think it definitely depends on the type of story you're telling. I mean, most of my stories are like very action driven, very violent. A lot of times in my stories, the violence tells the story. Um,
Yeah.
so I tend to not put a lot of dialogue in there, but um, I think it's important to realize that every character is different, so every character is going to talk a little differently. You don't want all of them to just have like your voice or your style of speaking. Um, I don't know, I might have got a little lost there in what your question was, but
No, man, that's exactly what I was
uh,
looking for, man. You brought up some good
yeah,
points, especially like, finding a unique voice for each character is something I think everybody struggles with, like,
yeah, for sure.
and
Yeah,
rewrite upon rewrite of scripts. I mean, I'm rewriting up until it's in the hands of the letterer. If I don't like something and something doesn't feel natural, it has to go back and it has to be rewritten. It has to be reworked until it sounds and looks right on the page. You got to take your own ego out of it and just kind of like, something like the ace that has probably like the most dialogue of anything that I've done. Something like Bloodbone has very little dialogue. It's mostly like you said, let the action drive. It's people talking, reacting to Bloodbone. Bloodbone doesn't speak almost at all. He mostly has like thought bubbles and stuff or dialogue boxes. So it's very kind of like, the story's journey in a completely different way. And it forces you to tell story a different way. Ace is a lot more traditional. It's no more kind of like traditional comic that you pick up and it's dialogue, sound effects, all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, man, I think that's the cool thing about writing all these different kind of IPs and all these different things. It forces you, and I think each time that I write something and I go back to something else, like I've been after I finished Ace Volume 3, I went back to do a short story for Bloodbone. That you know, I don't know what it's gonna be put out through, but people will get it somehow. Uh, and it has kind of more dialogue and more stuff than the first Bloodbone did, even if it was a short story, just because I a different wanted to tell it a different way. So I think it's something that I think every time I write something, it kind of re-energizes me and it kind of makes me refocus on whatever the next thing is. I don't know how you how you tackle that. After you write something, then you go back to like working on a script. How do you is it easy to get back on the horse to write something, or do you find it hard? What's your process?
I I find it difficult. I find writing difficult a lot of times. Um, I tend to usually like I'll come up with some stuff and then like if it really like kind of speaks to me or like I'm really like feeling it, I'll write like the whole script out like within a couple days. And then I'll change it here and there depending on if I have an editor helping me or just showing people, what's going on with the book. Um, but then uh if I go to write like the next issue, quite often I'll be stuck and I'll be stuck for months. And I'll just kind of have to like work through that and just like wait for the next kind of like thing to hit me like, oh, this is where it's going to go. This is what I'm going to do next. And this is how it's going to play out. And that really happened actually recently with Murder Weapon because Murder Weapon came out, what, like well over a year ago, right?
Yeah,
About a year ago, maybe.
yeah, probably like a
Um,
year and a half, probably.
yeah. And I struggled. I wrote part of the second issue and I created some new characters for it. And I was just kind of stuck and sitting there and didn't know how I was going to tell the story or what I wanted to do or kind of how I was going to explain what was something happened at the end of Murder Weapon that's like a big change from the beginning to the end. And I was kind of like really struggling on which direction like I really should take the story because I had my idea of what I was going to do and then I kind of was like, oh, I don't think I should. I think I should do something different. And I struggled with it and I just couldn't write the second issue and just like in the last like week or two I was like, oh shit, I know what to do now. So I think it's just I don't really have like a great process. I just have that stuff hit me and then I just can like write it all out and it's like comes out really good and I'm happy with it and then I won't be able to do anything for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our different process. I definitely there's been time where stuff just comes naturally, like you said, and you're just in the zone and you're writing. And then
Mhm.
there's other times for me, like Ace 3 was really hard to like get down. Like I knew what the beats were, like I knew the beginning, the middle, the end, but it was about kind of actually crafting it and doing the breakdown page by page and all that stuff. That was really the hard part. That took a while, and doing other stuff, doing Bloodbone, doing other projects that people haven't even seen, kind of refreshed me. So I was able to kind of be like, all right, now I'm in a good place and I can really tackle this with like new energy. And to respond to Chris in the chat, Ace's powers are basically all via his armor. So he has super strength, super speed, uh, some invulnerability. We've kind of only touched at a very kind of surface level of how powerful he really is and can be. And that's part of like the mystery of the story, like, he's powerful, but you don't really know exactly how powerful he is. And as, different threats and different things pop up, you'll kind of get to see like the full extent of his power as the series goes on. So, yeah. And you'll be able to
Yep.
catch up on Volume 1 and Volume 2 when Volume 3 launches in September. So, get you all caught up.
I was also gonna say, I don't draw, but everything in my books, like in my stories, like I'm very visually driven. Um, so I'll usually, when I get an idea for a story or when I want to continue a story, I'll get scenes in my head and I'll get interactions between characters that I think are interesting, or I'll get like a certain action scene that I think fits the character really well. And then I'll build pieces of the story around those things. And I just I just feel like action in comics is really important because since it's visually on the page and art is such a huge part of comics, I I run into comics all the time that are just people standing there doing nothing. And I don't like that. I like to have the character always doing something. I
Yeah.
feel like even if they're talking, they need to be like doing something. And it can't just be just like sitting there like eating or picking their nose or whatever. Unless picking their nose is like a big part of the story or something interesting,
Yeah. No,
or the food is something that's actually interesting. I don't like to do it. Like I would rather have the guy like in Murder Weapon. I'd rather have him like burning through a fence or climbing something or cutting someone's head off and telling the story along with that stuff happening, than tell a bunch of dialogue and then have the character do it.
Yeah, man, definitely. Every issue, there's always certain beats and certain things. Like, as I'm writing it, like it just like needs something big. Like, I remember the first in Ace Volume 1, like when Akula shows up. You know, the idea of him like literally showing up at Ace's front door to me was hilarious. To see this like giant shark guy just showing up, and Ace looks at him, and you're thinking like most books would have like a big kind of like talking like thing, like they're gonna spout off and then they'll fight. No, literally Akula just shoots him.
Yeah.
Akula just blasts him with his gun. Like, so the first interaction right there, you get the big kind of action piece, and then even like Ace is like surprised, like, all right, the armor can survive that. So through that action, you also learn story. You also learn power sets, learn all these things, and then I had that, and then I had like the end where Ace ends up taking Akula into space. And the idea is like, you've seen that before. Superman takes so and so off to space, and then they basically pass out, because they can't breathe in the upper atmosphere. You know, that's an old trope. It's cool, but I wanted something different. So the idea is Ace shoots Akula up, but Akula is able to break the grip, but Akula can't fly. So Akula goes all the way down, and he's basically, as he's going down, he's cursing out David. So it's again, it's so the funny kind of
Yeah.
visual of action of him just, falling through his back, and he's cursing him out. It's like, I deserve a warrior's death. And it's like a hilarious kind of visual that gives you a little bit of who Akula is. And obviously, Ace catches him before he falls and he slams him down to earth, and then you kind of end the book on like the cliffhanger. But just different stuff like that, to me, like each issue that I write for Ace has these kind of key moments that have to be in the story to kind of make each character have like different spotlight. For volume 2, it was Angelique flying through the godless spaceship. She ended up flying through like the front of it and making like a big grand entrance. And the visual of that, when you turn the page and you see like small panel of her crashing the window, and then you turn the page, you see like a big panel of her and her wings looking badass. That's like a cool, really cool like action moment there. So you got to make sure you have those while you're writing, because comics is about the moments. There's countless comics I've seen: Spider-Man, X-Men, Green Lantern, where you have these big kind of cool badass moments of Spider-Man, dropping down and kicking somebody. You have Wolverine, his claws driving through like a fence or something. These kind of big kind of introduction moments that are like super badass, and that's part of comics. You have to have those kind of key moments in each issue that you do. They kind of make it memorable, let the artist show off, and those have to be stuff that's like can pop you even if you're not reading a comic. Let's say you pick up like the comic, right, and you're just flipping through it. You don't have time to read it, so that's what I used to do back when I used to go to like my comic shop. I didn't have time to like read it, so I'd grab a copy of X-Men and I'd thumb through it and be like, what's this issue about? And I'd see like Magneto, just stopping the X-Men with his like magnetic powers or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, that's awesome. That made me stop right there. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I need to read this to figure out what's going on. So you kind of want that, with every comic. So yeah, it's a really good point, man.
Yeah, I really like your writing style. Not to compare myself to you, but I have the Bloodbone Ash can, and I was reading it, and I thought it was like very much like if I was writing that book, it was very similar to like what I would have done. It seemed very similar to the way I would have done it, and like the Ace is different. But I also read that I've seen, like your little preview of Raid of the White Leopard. And that was also very similar to, reminded me of like kind of how I would have done that, those scenes. The thing I like too is, you have like little clever things in there, but I think a lot of writers, especially new writers, they think they're more clever than they really are. Like everyone wants to kind of overcomplicate their story and have all these like interweaving things in the background and all this stuff going on. And if you're really good at it, like if you're Chris Claremont, then yeah, but you're not Chris Claremont. You're just not. And you're gonna fuck up your story if you try to get too clever, or if you put things in that you think are cool but that don't fit, but you're just trying to show off how cool you are or how smart you are. You're gonna fuck up your story. And it took me a long time to learn that. Like I have a lot of unpublished stuff that I wrote that I'm glad never got turned into comics, because I thought I was like a fucking genius and I was like coming up with all this like awesome shit. And the stuff I do now, like I probably would have shit on it back then, but I think it speaks to people better, because even if it's not something that they're like, oh, this is genius writing, they can read the comic and they're like, oh, this is cool. I like this comic.
Yeah, man. Again, more good points. Not everybody is Chris Claremont. You gotta have to know where your strengths are, and especially as you're kind of building your repertoire as a writer, then you can probably expand more and more to different avenues, but you kind of have to start at like a basic level. The Ace is very much an introductory story. Didn't want to give you more than what was necessary. For volume two, the story gets a little more complicated. Same thing for volume three, but it never kind of anything that kind of I feel I can't really hit 100% gets pushed to another volume. So it never kind of loses its focus, even though like for volume three, it's going to be basically a team up issue. It's going to be Ace, Akula, Angelique, and Desi having to join forces against this new threat. But even that, I didn't want to like overcomplicate it. So there's different little tricks that I use where it doesn't become overwhelming and there's too much happening on the page. But I only learned that this is what like the sixth, seventh thing I've written as far as like comics go. It took me writing the other five to finally like get to this point, and like 3-4 issues down the line, I'll learn more and I can kind of up the ante more. But you always have to kind of realize what your limitations are each project that you write.
And I'm not trying to like say I'm smarter than other writers and that I know better and stuff. I'm just kind of taking it from my perspective. So like if other people have different perspective, I understand that. I respect that. I'm just saying like that for my writing style and the way I believe, it's just what I believe.
Yeah, that's all we do here. Like at no point will I claim any sort of kind of high level anything. I'm just a beginning comic book writer who's trying to do the best he can. Any advice
me
I
too.
give is just that advice. You can take it, you can leave it. I don't have all the answers for anything. If I did, I would not be on YouTube. I'd be doing something, more important. So you always take everything with a grain of salt. But, I think talking to everybody, I've had all the hardline guys on for the most part, had Bancroft on. I think we all kind of see, even if the stuff that we write's different, I think we all have like a similar kind of respect for the medium. And we all take it seriously. We want to put out the best books we can. And we're always learning. We're always trying to get better, trying to have better art in our books, better stories, just cool different things that we can do. And I think people can tell when people come from like a genuine point of view. Now, the thing I want to know, Aaron, as we get ready to talk about these projects that we have coming up here, are you going to have like a big Aaronverse tier where everybody can catch up with all your projects when you drop Hellzone?
No.
Killing me, brother.
Um, I've thought about, doing some reprint stuff. But I think for right now, we're just going to concentrate on Hellzone. I have other things I'm working on. Like I said, like I finally kind of got what I want to do with Murder Weapon in my mind. So like there will be more of my back issue stuff coming out, like reprints of like Cybershock and More Lethal and Murder Weapon, like especially like if people do end up really liking Hellzone, which I'm pretty sure they are. I think it's going to be like my biggest thing I've done yet for sure. So I want people to be able to read my stuff if they like it. But I don't like to I have kind of a history of like getting overexcited and trying to do too much. So I don't want to. I'd rather do. It might sound bad, but I'd rather do not enough things, but like do the things I am doing really, really well. And if I start getting tied up in like getting a bunch of stuff printed and trying to do like a million different tiers and messing around like fixing my old things in back issues and all that stuff, like I'll end up like the quality of everything will suffer. So rather just for right now, with the Hellzone campaign at least, keep that campaign pretty much a Hellzone campaign.
No, man, it's always good. Like you said, we just talked about knowing your limitations. Knowing kind of what you can do and what you can't do, and that all comes with experience. So yeah, right now we have the Hellzone mailing list. Like I said, the link is in the description. You can go sign up for that. It's Sim. The Sim also do the colors on this?
He did these colors, yeah.
Yeah, looking good, man.
Well, actually, man, it's been a while since we did the cover. I think Scotsman did the inks on this, and Sim did the colors.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I apologize for that, but I'm pretty sure this originally was colored differently.
Yeah,
and
like new colors here.
Sim went back through and colored it, and I think it is big improvement.
That looks really good. Who's this chick right here with a big ass gun?
Yeah, that's our main character. We actually haven't finalized names for this. Like, we have almost the whole thing is drawn, and the story is pretty much all like out there. But we haven't. Some of the dialogue's done, but most of the dialogue's yet to be done still. And we have a couple different names for the character that we were going back and forth on. So we actually don't have a finalized name yet. But
There you got a Preston variant cover. That's awesome.
yeah, actually, Preston he drew that on his own because he thought, he was really impressed with Sim's take on the Hellzone thing, and he just drew that, and then we asked him if we could use it, and I asked him if I could buy the original art to sell on the campaign, and he had already sold it because it's so awesome. So he had already sold it like right away.
Preston's work goes quick.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great piece. Some more art.
I was really excited when I saw that he drew that.
Yeah, man, Preston does great work.
I was really excited. Yeah,
I love that ship design. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's all Sim. Yep.
Yeah, a little space.
Sim really did a lot of the heavy lifting on this. This is like I said, I came up with the name and the original premise, and then we kind of both came up with the story. But he really just kind of he just took off. We just kind of did all that, and then it was okay, now Sim, do whatever you want, and then he just drew the whole thing pretty much on his own. Yeah, so definitely can't overstate. I don't want to understate his contribution to this, because he really did all the heavy lifting on this. But it's very much in my style, I would say. The if you read Murder Weapon and More Lethal, and really even Cybershock, they're pretty much just action from start to finish. It's just go the whole time, and that's kind of what this is like too. It's pretty crazy. This is definitely the craziest one of all the stuff I've done so far.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So yeah, guys, like I said, you can go sign up for that. Launch is coming soon, so get ready. You could always follow Aaron on his social media for any updates or anything. So yeah, go check that out, man. Looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to supporting it. So yeah, man. And before we get out of here, I just want to remind everybody that Raid of the White Leopard is launching this Friday at 9:15 p.m. Eastern, live on Michael Bancroft's channel. We have the mailing list right now. Currently, link is also in the description. You can go sign up for it. It'll give you a discount on the comic. Yeah, man. So Raid is basically the story of a band of Vikings who end up getting caught up in a massive storm, and they end up washing up on a strange, mysterious island. It's got a lot of different, you know, kind of different themes to it that I think are super interesting. Like it's part Viking story, part superhero story. It's got some mysticism. It's got absolutely incredible art by Avery Butterworth. He blew me away with the stuff he's done on this. You see that amazing cover right here by Donald DeLay, colors by How Comics, and yeah, you can check out the actual page and all the tiers and everything. They're already kind of preloaded on fundmycomic.com. And then you see this just absolutely incredible artwork by Avery, just like just blew me away. Every time he handed me a new page, it just kind of got better and better. Uh, this was originally the first couple of pages were published through Alterna Comics. And we I got some good kind of feedback from the story. So I got with Avery and we did some more pages. And we put this whole thing together, and I think it's a fun kind of mystery piece. This is book one of hopefully what will be three books if we can get them funded. Uh, I really just cannot put over the art enough, man. It's the book is fully lettered. It's completely done. Right now, I'm just sending it over to get a proof done, and we're trying to launch it on fundmycomic.com, something completely different. I've used Indiegogo, I've used PayPal, all these different kind of methods, and I think Fund My Comic is a really interesting kind of new place where a lot of people should really take a shot and launch their books. I love the layout. It's been super easy. It's been great talking to Luke and getting feedback on different questions that I have for it. So I've had a lot of fun and success so far. Fingers crossed we can, pull off the launch. It's already preset, so it's kind of out of my hands. So we'll see at 9:15 Eastern if it goes live and everything goes off correctly, or if not. So fingers crossed, everybody. We're gonna try and do this. So yeah, guys, please go check it out. Sign up for the mailing list. It's gonna be a really it's one of the favorite things that I've written. I would love to do more. Like I said, I would love to do a book two and a book three and take it up a notch. Avery has done fantastic work on this. And this, again, something completely different. You have Ace, you have Bloodbone, and now this. These are all complete kind of different projects. So maybe if, the first two weren't to your liking, go check this one out. But I think if you're a fan of Vikings, if you're a fan of stuff like, Black Panther, if you're like you like a little bit, movies like 13th Warrior, big inspiration on this. You like that kind of stuff, go check this out. We'll be offering sketch cards. We'll be offering original art. It's going to be a lot of fun, cool stuff. And hopefully we can get this funded. And, if we got stretch goals, if we hit certain benchmarks. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully everybody will join us on Bancross Friday. Doing a bunch of streams throughout the weekend and stuff, pushing it. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot of me running around trying to do what I can to push this. So yeah, please sign up. And yeah, we've about 40 minutes now, so I'll look to wrap this up. Aaron, first off, thank you for joining me today. This was fun. Secondly, where can they find you at? Let them know.
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. You can find me at Aaron Calimeri on Twitter. I'm usually hanging around on YouTube on like the hardline stuff. Like I'll usually either be on the show or usually in the chat. Yeah. Um, I'm pretty much like one of those like Twitter weirdos. So you'll probably be best find me on Twitter.
Yeah. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm at Edwin Aces, wherever the thing is. I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but mostly if you want to know any updates, art, all that kind of stuff, Twitter is the best place to catch me. You can also catch me on the Hardline every Monday on our Zaid Comics channel at 10 p.m. I'll be there with the crew, pumping up some more news and talking about food topics, all that fun stuff. I do the writers cut every Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new guest, and we'll be talking more comics, more writing, all that kind of fun stuff. Well, say thank you to Christopher, who's in the chat with us. Anybody catches this on the replay, please feel free to like and share all that fun stuff, and we will catch you on the next one. You guys have a good night.